Hello, this is Jason Clement, Technical Sales Manager at Isonas, and welcome to the Certification Training module. This module is Isonas Project Planning. Our course objectives: understand the needs of the customer, understand the value of a site survey and details to look for while on site, understand the details to look for with new systems and taking over existing systems, understand power calculations, and discuss the Isonas Project Planning Guide. What is the goal of this system? Is it just simply door access? Are we providing access to medical cabinets or data racks? Are we doing any additional point monitoring from intrusion points or high or low temp points, things like that? Discussing these different items can lead to additional business. Perhaps they are looking for a software package that can monitor separate points and alert them to any change in those points. It can also be a good time to discuss other pieces of the security puzzle. The access control system is only one part of a full security solution. Employee training, intrusion and burglar alarm systems, and video surveillance help round out our solution. Is this a new system or an existing retrofit? For existing systems, always get a card or two and a card reader model for testing. Arrange a meeting with all departments involved: IT, human resources, maintenance, security, etc. This way everybody can be on the same page. Is this system going to interface to other systems? Are we going to talk to a video management system? Are we going to talk to Active Directory, etc.? Set the proper expectation of the system. Sometimes end users watch too much CSI or NCIS and get unrealistic expectations of their security systems. The site survey. Time to examine the site and determine what is needed and set up the project for success. Talk to all departments who will touch the system. For example, HR may want the EasyWeb software while IT thinks they may not need it, so it's best to get those things cleared up beforehand so you're not having to do change orders at the end and scramble to try to get your system up and running. Always ask for prints. Even an evacuation plan is better than nothing for you to make notes on. Examine the site carefully. When in doubt, take a picture. For example, if you have a door that you're not sure how to get wiring down into the door for an electric lock, just take a picture of it and bring it back to your office and you can discuss it with other personnel. Check all the doors, check the network closets, and look at all the install conditions. So let's take a look at new systems at the door. Make sure the door opens and closes correctly. This is the bane of the access control system. If the door does not close correctly, simply putting an electric lock on a door isn't going to make it close. You'll need somebody who specializes in door hardware to correct that door so it closes correctly before you can put an electric lock on. Determine the correct locking hardware or bring a locksmith with you. If you partner with another locksmith in the area, it's beneficial to both of your companies. If there's existing hardware, check part numbers. Always get as many part numbers as you can. That way you can research to see what voltage it is and how you're going to connect our system to their electric lock hardware. Do you need any peripheral devices, such as door contacts, request to exit? Do they want to monitor the door status? You may need sounders, a remote unlock button, etc. So make sure to make notes of all those devices that you'll need. If you need an intercom at the door, just make sure that it has a door release relay built in. New systems on the network. Are we going to utilize the existing network or are we going to maintain a separate physical network? In most cases, we can utilize the existing network. For existing networks, ensure you have enough switch ports. And also, if you're using PoE, ensure the switch can handle the full load of PoE devices. Not all switches can handle full PoE out every single port. So discuss with the network administrator what the existing PoE load is and what the total PoE load of the switch will be and what it will be after you add the PowerNet or IP bridges on there. You may need to add additional switches or use midspans to help with the PoE load. When using an existing network, it's best to create a separate VLAN and lock it down. You can use things such as port security, port restrictions, etc. to ensure that even if a reader is pulled off, that nobody else can plug into that port and use it as if it's on the network. The server is needed to run DB Crystal software. In this case, virtualization is your friend. The server for DB Crystal is pretty minimal. If it is a large complex system that will be executing scripts, please contact pre-sale support to discuss server requirements, as that could take some additional load on the CPU of the server. Each device will need an IP address, whether it's static or DHCP. That's going to depend on the network administrator for the site. Either the PowerNet will initiate the connection, or the host will initiate the connection over the network. By default, PowerNet units will attempt to acquire a DHCP address. It's always best to discuss this with the IT administrator, because if you have a lot of PowerNets that you're going to be plugging in at one time, you may take all their DHCP addresses on accident and leaving none for their other workstations and PCs as they boot up. With minimal setup on your test bench, the PowerNet will attempt to connect to the host and auto-configure itself. Discuss with IT how the readers will communicate, especially if you have many sites or remote sites with bad connections. We'll discuss the different connection methods in future courses, but for now it's best to just make a note of how they're going to communicate. Fire alarm systems. Again, if they have an existing fire alarm, get the contact info for the contractor they use. Determine how to interface the fire alarm to maglock or fail-safe doors. When in doubt, contact the local AHJ, or authority having jurisdiction. As we've discussed, we have several different methods. We can have the fire alarm contractor install a relay at each door that we need to unlock. We can have the fire alarm contractor install a relay in each closet doors are run back to. Then we can either use a UL-rated midspan with a fire alarm input, or we can use a UL-rated power supply with a fire alarm input and run a separate power cable to each door. New systems. Who will be administrating the system? Believe it or not, I have installed access control systems, and I get done installing the access control system, and the end user still does not know who is going to be administrating the system. So it's best on the site survey and the time afterwards before the install for the end user to figure out who is going to be doing the administration of the system. It may be HR, it may be the security department, it may be another department, depending on the end user. Load the software and do the training before the install of the hardware. This makes it easier on the end user and yourself, as when you are done with the install, the end user already has training on how to configure the system. Are you going to use SQL Express or full SQL? Some businesses see SQL Express as a security risk and do not want it running on their network, in which case they'll already have full SQL running on servers throughout their network. Are you going to enter the information in manually? Are you going to import the information, or are you going to do an Active Directory integration? If they can give you an export from another system, we can import this via CSV file. If we're doing Active Directory integration, they'll just have to create their groups and other information in Active Directory to transfer over to Isonas. Or perhaps we're doing a TCP IP integration for transfer information. It's always best just to add EasyWeb 2015 to the quote, as it will make administration for the end user easier. Existing systems are a lot more difficult than brand new systems. Failure to plan is planning to fail. First off, we have to determine what the existing technology is. PowerNets can read a lot of card formats, but we cannot read Andala, AWID, and some other proprietary technology. Now, the IP bridge can read just about any Wiegand source, but consider future expansion. So for example, we have 3 buildings. We're expanding to a 4th building. We have an existing legacy system that we want to basically facelift up into an Isonas system. So we'll use IP bridges at the existing facilities and PowerNets at the new facility. However, if the end user is using AWID at the first 3 facilities, our PowerNets cannot read that AWID technology. So we need to consider, do we need to change out the AWID readers to standard prox readers? Or do we need to replace everything in the system with PowerNets? Each case can be handled a little bit differently depending on the customer's budget and their security concerns. The IP bridge is the most cost-effective retrofit method because we can reutilize the existing cabling and all the devices at the door. If we can get an export from the existing software into an Excel file format or a CSV, we can reorganize the information so that we can import it into the DB Crystal software. Again, always get some cards to test and at least the reader part number for testing to ensure compatibility. Existing systems. What's the existing technology? Is everything working correctly on the existing system? I myself have failed to ask this question before, and after we've installed the new system, the customer says, well, the last system, this was broken, and now it's still broken. Well, it was the door that wasn't closing correctly, and again, simply putting an electric lock on the door is not going to fix the door from closing correctly. Can we use existing power supplies? If they already have newer power supplies in there that we can use to power the IP bridges, we can use those if they don't have enough power from their switches for PoE. What type of communication is the existing system using? Is it using old RS-485? If so, then we're going to have to run new network drops to the IP bridge or PowerNet locations. What peripheral devices are connected to the panel? Check the input contacts for their normal status. For example, the Isonas system is looking for a normally open input for a REX and a normally closed input on a door status monitor. You'll also want to confirm the power draw for any peripheral devices that are powered out at the door. If replacing with PowerNet units, check the lock voltage to ensure that we stay under the 600 milliamps. Again, get a card and a reader and test it if you're not sure. What does our existing software look like? Is there any existing software integration that we have to maintain in the Isonas system? Can we get an export from the existing software and import it into the Isonas system? If we're reusing their existing cards, this is going to be critical. It'll save you a lot of time. Have DB Crystal loaded and pre-programmed before the cutover. You do not want to be trying to program doors and import card holders into the system while you're trying to do the changeover. Have everything done beforehand. During the transition, any changes to the existing software must be logged. So if you do an existing export from their existing software and import it into Isonas, from that point on, any changes that they make in the existing software up until the time that you have the Isonas system fully running, they'll have to track all those existing changes so that they can change those in the Isonas software as well. Always do one door first, the least used door, and ensure everything works right, and then move on. So if you need to make any changes to your wiring or any changes to programming, you can do those beforehand and have a smooth rollout on the rest of the doors. Let's take a quick look at power calculations. Our switches. Check the PoE budget of the switches and other devices connected to it. A lot of companies now may have IP cameras, IP phones, and other devices that are pulling PoE from that switch. Work closely with the network administrator to ensure that you're not going over the PoE budget of the switch. Check for a UPS for backup power, especially if you have magnetic locks. When magnetic locks lose power, they unlock, which could cause a serious security concern for your customer. Again, the power nets, when using PoE, the reader will draw a maximum of 11 watts, providing a maximum of 600 milliamps at 12 volts DC. The IP bridge, when using standard PoE, or 802.3 AF, will draw a maximum of 13 watts of power and provide 600 milliamps at 12 volt DC. Using PoE Plus, or 802.3 AT, it will draw a maximum of 25.5 watts of power and provide 1.6 amps at 12 volts DC. This is an example of the front of the Isonas project planning guide. This will walk you through how many doors that you need, what type of credentials that you need, and other objects that you'll need to purchase from Isonas in order to make your system function correctly. The full project planning guide is available for download in this course or on our website. So let's discuss our course objectives. We discussed understanding the needs of the customer. We want to make sure that all parties that are involved in the administration of the system are present at the meetings, And also that we may be able to bring up some new business if we discuss things that they may not have thought of that they can use the Isonas access control platform for. We discuss the value of a site survey and some of the details to look for while on site, making sure to check the doors, check the network closets to make sure we have enough switch ports, and discussing with the network administrator the PoE load on the switches. We discuss the details to look for with new systems and taking over existing systems, as they're two totally different models. We discuss power calculations on the PoE side, and we discuss the Isonas project planning guide, which again is available for And we discuss the Isonas Project Planning Guide, the full document which is available for download through this course or on our website. Thank you for attending this course, and we hope it was beneficial to you. Have a great day.